Hello, welcome to my bed. Today we're gonna be doing a comfy episode because I'm so tired. I just feel like being comfy. Honestly, I kind of like this. It's like a sleepover. We're hanging out together. It's fun. Chill vibes. Ugh, freaking love it. Today's episode is inspired by the fact that I turned 20 in, what's today, Wednesday? In 6 days-ish? Oh my god, in 1 week exactly, I'll be 20. Holy cheese balls. So I'll be entering my 20s in 1 week, officially, which is kind of scary, kind of fun, kind of fresh. I have a lot of friends. Literally almost all my friends are older than me. No. Yeah. I think there's a little kid with a toy car outside. I know Abby's barking. How wonderful. Love that. I would say these last 5 seconds pretty much explain my 19th year, which if I had to sum it up in one word would be chaos. But that's also just my life in general. I'm pretty chaotic, got that Gemini energy, chaos is just in my nature. She's used to it. I'm used to it. She as in me. But I'm entering my 20s. Pretty gnarly to think that I started out this last decade as a child, a literal child, and now I'm gonna be a different level of adult. Like, I already am technically an adult, but like now it's to a different level. You know what I mean? So I kind of wanted to talk about how I've stopped taking advice from other people, and it kind of just touches on what I've learned this last year as a 19-year-old, what I've learned in my 19th year. I'm going to be making a YouTube video on this, like a more kind of artsy-fartsy aesthetic YouTube video in the Clara style, in true filmmaker nature. But I wanted to talk about this one specific thing I've learned, which is everyone is on their own journey, right? And so I used to find myself really religiously following one person at a time, just strictly adhering to what they would preach. And I would be like, yes, they know what they're doing. I'm going to follow them. This is the right way to live. So I'm going to do exactly what they do because they're doing something right. It's working for them. So why wouldn't it work for me? And so that kind of leads me to this topic of why I've stopped taking advice from other people. Now, I don't completely disregard what other people teach me or the lessons I learned through other people, because I feel like everyone comes into your life for a specific reason, but that's completely different than advice, because someone can tell you something, but it won't really stick with you until you go through it yourself. It's funny because I got my health coaching certification back in August of 2021. So I just turned 19 that June. And I was so sure I was going to become a health coach and I was going to be coaching these people and just being a health coach is kind of like being a therapist. You kind of just listen to people and you give them sort of tips, but you're not exactly telling them what to do. You're just guiding them. That's what they always teach us about coaching. It's you're guiding the person. You're not exactly telling them what to do. You're not giving them an answer. That's therapy, basically. And so I was like, okay, cool, dope. Everyone's got to find their own answers. I understand that. Everything you need is within you. I get that. But then I was I don't know. I feel like people, when they look for coaching, they sort of do want an answer. They want someone to help them be the best, whatever they're looking for within coaching, right? And I just think there was a lot that I still hadn't learned or figured out, which I knew subconsciously, which is what I think was keeping me from like gaining clients, because I did officially launch my business and everything, but I was really resistant to growing my platform and reaching out, and I never gained any clients because I think I had this subconscious belief that, I didn't know enough to coach other people. And, I think a part of that is true. Like, I'm still figuring a lot out, and that's totally okay, because we all are. Even the professionals now are still learning stuff in their professional career, but they've got a little more experience than I have at 19. But anyway, this is sort of going off the point. Why I stopped taking advice from others. So I actually wrote something in my phone about a week or two ago on this topic, and I'm going to read it because it kind of is going to segue into this topic perfectly. Like, I think I wrote a really great little I don't fucking know. Okay, here we go. I've tried all the master classes, the courses, the coaches, and I've always come to one conclusion. None of the information I gather from other people's journeys matter because they aren't my own findings, which is kind of what I said before. Like, the answers other people are giving me, I will never be able to fully grasp until I come up with that answer on my own. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. And also kind of what I'm trying to say when I'm saying, like, don't take other people's advice. They don't truly stick with me because I did no work to get that answer. Is it even an answer I agree with? Is it even an answer meant for me? Even though I do think it might be meant for me, how can I know unless I did that work to get that answer, right? I've stopped taking the advice of others because when they preach, it's simply an expression, a mere perception of their experience, consciousness, and conclusion. Dude, this is good shit. It was just like a brain dump. What was this? 9:47, late night thoughts. I mean, think about that. Let me read that again. When people preach the enlightened, the profound findings they've had, these downloads, whatever, it's a perception of their experience, period. Experience, consciousness, and conclusion. Everything that went on in their life up to that moment happened for a reason for them to find that answer. And it's not exactly going to resonate in the same way it is for me than it is for him. But that's not to say that what someone might say could be exactly what I needed to hear to move forward in my own journey, right? But I'm just saying, like, we should all take what everyone says with a grain of salt, especially with, like, social media being our main stream of communication these days. I think we all need to be a little more mindful of everything we're consuming, because even if it is just kind of like a scroll and you quickly scroll by it, you don't know, like, maybe your brain caught on to that and all of a sudden you have this, like, thought that you never had before, but it's someone else's thought, really. Does this make sense? I hope it does. If I want to find an answer, I will. I'll find it. But I need to do the work myself, or else I won't actually learn the lesson. Sure, seeking out guidance and support is a beautiful process and can help your growth and journey, which is, by that I meant, like, looking for a coach or taking a course. But there comes a point where you must separate yourself from this person's own journey and recognize it as just that. Separate yourself from this person's own journey. Take everything they say with a grain of salt. Only connect to the parts you resonate with. Don't take it and see it as your freaking Bible, all right? Don't religiously follow this person unless maybe you've had similar experiences to them. Take only what you need to move forward in your journey, which is what I said before. We are the masters of our own healing, And we forget that sometimes. Like, we literally have everything we need to come to our own conclusions. We don't need any fucking supplemental classes, expensive ass courses. Not to say there isn't value within what other people are selling. I just think that, especially me, I can be a little naive sometimes. Like, when I can't afford to make the investment, I'll like jump to a course or a master class thinking it'll solve all my problems, when those are really just supposed to be aids. They're supposed to be guides in your own process already. But if you're not doing the work alongside that, that alone isn't going to solve all your problems. It's not going to give you the answers you're looking for. You have to do the work alongside that, which is a mistake I've made countless times, which is also what led to this. It is up to us to reveal and utilize everything that is already within us. Everyone else can only guide you towards the questions you should be asking yourself. Does that make sense? Oh my god, that's really good. Everyone else can only guide you towards the questions you should be asking yourself. Let's just take a second to take that in. Absorb that right now, because a lot was thrown your way. And you know, it's kind of ironic because I'm over here talking about how you shouldn't take anyone's advice, yet over here, in a way, I kind of am giving advice. Like, saying not to take anyone's advice is kind of advice, right? But I think this is different, because when someone tells you about an experience they had or something new that they're doing, they're telling you like, oh, if you do this, like, it's gonna be better. Like, you should do this. It solved my problems, so it's gonna solve your problems too. But here I am just telling you, like, over the last year, the collective experiences I've had have led to this conclusion. But I'm not telling you that it's what you should do. Don't just stop listening to people, because the way I approach information that is given to me, I might not be able to perfectly explain to you. So by me saying, oh, I just don't take people's advice anymore, you might like take that and like perceive it in a different way than what I actually mean by that. That's good. Does that make sense? I think that made sense. I think I communicated that perfectly. I executed that the exact way I wanted to. It's Gemini season of communication. Gemini is the ruler of communication, Mercury. So, we're on a roll here, baby. We're on a roll. Usually what I mean by I stopped taking people's advice is... Oh, I'm gonna take this hat off. It's like hot in there. So usually what I mean by I stopped taking other people's advice is, you know, when I come across new information or someone's sharing their own story or someone's sharing something new that they learned in their journey, I'll usually, instead of automatically reacting how I used to, which would be in a way of like sort of putting myself down, like I would be like, oh, they're better than me, which means they're doing something right and I'm doing something wrong, which means I need to be more like this person and do more of what they're doing and kind of mimic that so that I could be a better version of myself. So I think sort of where my mistake laid was just like this lack of confidence in myself and my ability to find my own answers and to be my highest self or whatever, right? And so I thought that everyone else had it figured out and I didn't, and so that's why I would like look to other people for answers so much. But now I kind of just stop and I'm like, instead of reacting and being like, no, that's wrong, you're wrong, I don't agree, I'll just like kind of absorb it in my mind. I'll like have my own commentary in my mind because they're sharing with me. They don't need me to respond to them and have an argument with them or have any kind of commentary. They're probably just sharing to share. So I have my own commentary in my head. I let go. And I'm like, does this resonate? Maybe not. And sometimes if I do have those kind of like insecure thoughts come by, like thinking that this person is better than me and they're doing something better than me, I'm kind of just like, Clara, you're exactly where you need to be in your journey. I think my gain in confidence has also kind of like helped me not look to other people for answers as much, because it was so easy to see other quote unquote spiritual people as being more spiritual than me or better people than me, being better at spirituality than me, and trying to mimic the things they're doing so I'd be a more quote unquote spiritual person. Whereas now I'll be like, okay, they're doing the hippy dippy shit, and I'm just like, I don't have to do that. I can if I want, but I don't want to right now. And I'm confident in that, and I have no shame. And it's like, I think the shadow work and just the work in general that I've done have allowed me to kind of gain that confidence in myself and kind of like not go back into that thing of like, all right, let me do what they're doing now. I think when I say I stopped taking other people's advice, what I kind of mean by that is I kind of stopped trying to be like everyone else. Holy shit. Revelation? I think so. Maybe. I'm just becoming my own person. And I think like, because, I would say that my journey of self-discovery started when I was 18. And so I think in the beginning of your own self-discovery journey, you're kind of like trying everything and to see what works for you. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe it's not like, oh, I'm just not taking advice from other people anymore. I mean, yeah, sure, that too. I think part of it is just realizing like what works for me and what doesn't as part of my journey of self-discovery. But also what kind of like led me to think of this topic and just think of this topic is the experiences I've had within the last year, which is, I've tried like different courses from people and, them saying like, okay, do this, this, and this to reach this goal. And I would do it, but then I would get bored of it because I like to do a multitude of things. I get bored of things easily. I can't like do the same thing over and over again. Like I need to switch it up once in a while. Which also kind of ties into my throat is getting dry. Oh my god, I need water. Water! You know that scene from SpongeBob? Water! Sandy, I need water. That was a really bad impression. ASMR. I love myself. That's good. The burp sounds good on the mic. I like it. I think the biggest thing that led me to this topic or this revelation of stop taking advice from other people is when I did Freely the Banana Girls Raw Till 4 last summer in the beginning of my 19th year on this earth. The whole thing with my spiritual journey, I thought to be my most spiritual self, I had to eat super, super clean, what people call high vibrational foods. I had to detox my body, clear it of all the parasites, all this shit, right? And it's because I was following these people on Instagram that were preaching this. They were like these gurus saying that, all right, this is like the healthiest stuff. Do this to reach a higher version of spirituality, to just be a healthier person. Like I've always had this kind of like obsession with health and like putting what's best in my body. I know Virgo risings are very like conscious of what they put into their body. I think it's just how I am. Like I just want to make sure that I'm fueling my body in the best possible way. And so I've always been like obsessed with this idea of health, and then also with my like my body image issues. So on one end it was like good intentions, but on the other end it kind of went to an extreme form because of my own like personal like unhealed trauma. But this is part of the healing process. And so I was taking this advice, whatever, and I was like sticking to it religiously, and I ended up self-sabotaging and paying the consequences. I'm still suffering the consequences right now, but I'm reversing the damage that it did about and by damage I mean it just made me gain like a lot of weight. But that was my own fault. Honestly, I don't blame anyone else but myself. And it was a good lesson. Some of these people that I was following were changing their lifestyles. Some of these people that were raw vegan were going back to cooked food. And then they were going back to eating animal products, saying how like, oh, this works for them, so they're gonna do this, or how they're learning. And I'm like, I'm seeing a common theme here. And I was like, these people are all just figuring it out, just like I am. No one knows what they're doing. Some people are still raw vegan because that genuinely works for them, which is great. Or maybe they're just in a different living environment than everyone else. But I was like, fuck this. This is really hard. And while we love a good challenge, food is just, like, we're all so different in so many different ways. Like, I find joy from food. A lot of people do. And there's a specific moment where you need to realize if you're self-sabotaging or not. And I was self-sabotaging because I was taking away, like, one of the joys in my life, which was food. I was, like, restricting myself in a different way, even though I wasn't, like, restricting my food intake in a way. I was restricting what I could eat, when I could eat, all this shit. And it was pretty hard, like, you know, and I thought, like, okay, it's hard because it has to be hard because, you know, like, it's a challenge. Obviously, it's not going to be easy. Like, I'm detoxing all this years of shit I've put into my body, whatever. Like, but that's also such a negative mindset. It's all on, like, your perception, how you see it. And, like, I might sound like I'm preaching right now, like, about this topic, but I'm just telling you, like, this is the thought process I went through. I was like, this was my realization. This was my moment of enlightenment. I was like, whoa, wait, I don't actually like this, right? I realized that a majority of the people that I was, like, following so religiously, like, they also don't really have it, like, figured out. So that's when I kind of made that connection, and it kind of, like, weaves into what I wrote, how everyone's on their own journey and they're learning at their own pace, which is why you shouldn't really, like, because some people have, like, that kind of mentality, like, they want to teach what they come across. Like, I was that same way, and I still am. Like, I just want to, like, share my own journey, and then, like, whoever resonates with it can take it with a grain of salt, and, you know, or they can relate to it. Like, it's always a beautiful thing to be able to relate to someone and, like, feel like you're not alone, you know, in your own journey. And it's like, oh shit, like, other people go through this, like, someone went through this exact same thing as me, which is, there's some sort of comfort in it. And so that's why I think a lot of these people, like, share their teachings, or, you know, especially, like, when you can make money off of it. I think that's an even bigger incentive for people to share their advice when they can make money off of it, because obviously we live in a monetary world. Like, we need money to survive. It's just our reality. And so, like, I don't think people have bad intentions all the time, but it's like, it's just more incentive to share that advice and, like, push it on people more, and just be like, here, do this and your life will be better after doing this, right? Like, there's always some sort of, like, you gotta have some sort of, like, call to action that makes people want to buy your product, want to buy your service. And so that's where the whole thing of, like, sharing advice comes from, and people sell them as coaching, courses, master classes, etc. But now when I hear someone, like, talking about, like, a course that they're selling or whatever, I just get annoyed. I'm like, I could just learn this from my own, because I know that if I were to buy that class, that course, whatever, it just wouldn't be applied to my life the same way as if I would have just gone through it myself and learned it myself. Like, it's amazing to have someone teach it to you in, like, kind of a mentor way, but I feel like it's very rare to find that. Like, if you want to have a mentor, I feel like you gotta learn with them. But, like, the way that people kind of sell this information or like talk about the information they come across is like very, very salesy. Like it's very kind of like just like textbook, like you're learning page for page or whatever. I don't know. It's not very like integrative, I feel like. Like no one actually teaches how to integrate the things that you learn. Like it's kind of just like, you paid for it, great, here's the information. Or it's like, you follow me, great, here's the information. Like it's so hard to care about each and every one of the people who follow you and like be like have a specialized way of integrating it into your life. So you kind of just create like a generalized form of the advice that you learned, and it doesn't apply to everyone in the same way, which is why I think a lot of people like get mixed up and sometimes follow something that is not necessarily for them, and they don't realize till later, which is fine, like I guess, because then you learn it. But it kind of like led me to this conclusion today, like I'm just not gonna take people's advice anymore, at least for now. Who knows, maybe in the future I'll be like, all right, I want to learn from other people. Like I still do want to learn from other people, and I still do, but I just do it in a different way. Whereas before I would kind of like see them as better than me. I would see them as knowing what they're talking about more than me. Now I just kind of like see it as a guide. I see it as like, okay, cool, I'm gonna take whatever I resonate with, whatever I need. I'm gonna keep going. I'm not gonna idolize you. I'm not gonna look at you as someone who knows better than me. Like we're all on our own journey. You might know something now that I'm gonna figure out in a year or two or more or less. I know something that you're probably not gonna figure out until who knows when. We all gotta find it for our own. And all we can do is help people instead of like telling them outright, like, don't do this because I had this experience and this is the conclusion I came up with. That's your experience. That's how you perceived it. Someone has had a different form of life events which has allowed them to formulate different opinions, which allows them to have a completely different perception on everything. And they might take that advice differently. So it's like they need to go through their own set of events. So like I feel like all we can do is just like guide people to ask those questions to themselves to get to the answer that they need. We can only act as a guide. We can't just outright give people the answers. Because even sometimes if we do give people like others answers, I don't want to talk too high and mighty of myself. Like when I say people, I mean myself as well. But like when we give others answers, even if it's the exact answer they're looking for, like they just like begged the universe the other day, they were like, please like show me the answer, what do I do? And then like someone just like literally outright tells them an answer, they're like, I don't know. It's like most of the time we just like need to come up with that answer ourselves. It needs to feel like it's our idea, you know what I mean? It's just human nature, I feel like. But I want to keep this episode kind of like on the shorter side, even though it is half an hour. I'm gonna wrap it up here. I think I said my 2 cents. I'm satisfied with the non-advice I've given. But yeah, cheers to 20, cheers to 19, cheers to another decade of gaining clarity, learning lessons. I feel like I never promo myself. Like, what if someone's listening to this, like, from Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and they have no idea who I am? Like, it's not a friend or a family member. You know, like, how are they going to find me? Follow me at digitalklara on Instagram. It's Clara with a K. Digital. One word. Digitalklara. Digital Clara on YouTube. And that's it. That's everything. I always find, I love it when people reach out to me and they're like, I found you through this. It's so cool. It's like, wow, like people actually watch my stuff who aren't friends or family members. It's awesome. And like, it's so genuine too. It's amazing. I love when people reach out to me. it's like, oh, wow. I'm not just talking to a camera. Like, people are listening. But yeah, anyway, that's all I have for this episode. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'll be 20 years old, a year older, a year wiser. Not really. A week older, a week wiser. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.